Hi guys, it's Miss Levy here again. Welcome to the second video, which is Chapter 2, Key Issue 2, reviewing the demographic statistics. So please pause this video and find this chart in your notes. Please don't review this video without having your chart to reference. So we are talking about where has the world's population increased, and we can identify this based on these demographic statistics. And these are demographic indicators or demographic measures. All of these are demographic indicators or what we call demographic measures. So let's start here with the crude birth rate. Crude birth rate, this is the number of births per 1,000 in a country in a year. So we calculate this by the number of live births divided by 1,000. This tells you how many people are being born in your country in a year. When we look at what does it look like in an MDC, what does it look like in a DC, what does it look like in an LDC, we know from our work with the demographic transition model that we've connected this. So when we talk about what does it look like in an MDC, these are stage 4 countries in the demographic transition model. These countries really do not change in terms of MDCs in stage 4. What does it look like in a DC? We know these are our stage 3 countries in the demographic transition model. And what does it look like in an LDC? We know these are our stage 2 countries in the demographic transition model. So when we look at crude birth rate, and we'll reference this in the next video, which is about the demographic transition model, we'll see all of this happening. So for crude birth rate, whenever we look at an MDC, crude birth rate is low. They're stage 4. So this would be Anglo-America, which is United States and Canada, countries in Europe, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and Russia. What does this crude birth rate look like in a DC, the stage 3 countries? It should be declining. This would be Mexico, countries in South America like Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Peru, Northern African countries like Morocco, Indonesia, China, and South Africa. And what does it look like in an LDC? Crude birth rates in an LDC are still high, and this would be in Sub-Saharan Africa, countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. So those are obviously those countries that are below the Sahara Desert. Central America, countries like Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Caribbean countries like Haiti, Afghanistan, and some of the other stands like Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Iraq, Southeast Asian countries like Philippines, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Myanmar. Next is crude death rate. Crude death rate, this is the number of deaths per 1,000. In your population. This is calculated by the number of deaths divided by 1,000. And again, what does this look like in the stage 4 MDCs? We see this again on the demographic transition model. It should be low, but it may be a slight increase in that death rate in the stage 4 MDCs. And that's because again, we have more old people because we have a longer life expectancy. We have more old people who are going to die, which increases that death rate. That's Anglo-America, United States and Canada, countries in Europe, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and Russia. What does it look like in a DC? This is declining. The crude death rate is declining in a DC. And that would be Mexico, countries in South America like Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Peru, North African countries like Morocco, India, China, and South Africa. And what does it look like in an LDC? This is high, but it is declining. And that would be Sub-Saharan African countries, those that are again below the Sahara Desert, Central American countries like Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Caribbean countries like Haiti, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Iraq, Southeast Asian countries like Philippines, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Myanmar. Next is the natural increase rate. This is the percentage by which a population grows in a year. This is population growth rate. This is the NIR, the population growth rate. So crude birth rate is CBR, crude death rate is CDR, and natural increase rate is NIR. You calculate the NIR by taking the CBR and subtracting the CDR. How many people you're adding, subtract the people that are dying in your population. Population can also change because of the migration patterns, immigration, but that's not natural increase. That's why this is called the natural increase, because you have born minus deaths. Same examples for the MDC stage 4. It is a low natural increase rate in the MDC stage 4. It is declining natural increase rate in the DCs, the stage 3 countries, and it is an exploding natural increase rate, very high in the LDC stage 2 countries. Next is what we call doubling time. This is number of years for the population to double, assuming the constant natural increase rate. So the number of years for a population to double, assuming the constant natural increase rate. It is much longer in the stage 4 MDCs because they're growing a lot slower. So therefore it's going to take a lot longer to double. Those examples are, again, the same. In the DCs, because their natural increase rate is declining, it's increasing the number of years that it's taking them to double. And in the LDCs, stage 2 countries, it's much fewer years. It's taking a lot less time for the LDC stage 2 countries to double because of that high exploding natural increase rate. They're growing so fast that it'll be a lot less time for them to double in population. Next is total fertility rate. This is the average number of children a woman will have in her lifetime. Remember, in order to, and we learned about this in the Population Dilemmas articles, that to replace the population, you need a total fertility rate of 2, 1 for the man and 1 for the woman. So if there's a total fertility rate less than 2, that means that they are going to shrink in population because they're not even replacing themselves. So in order for replacement alone, you need a total fertility rate of 2 or above to replace minimum to replace themselves in the population. Again, this is going to be low in MDCs, stage 4 countries, because they have lower birth rates, so they're going to have low total fertility rates. It's declining, examples of the same there. It's declining in the DCs because their natural increase rate is declining, so they're having less births. And it is very high in the LDC stage 2 countries, and that's because they have a very high natural increase rate. Next is infant mortality rate. This is the number of deaths of infants within 1 year of life per 1,000. So the number of babies who will die within 1 year of their life per 1,000. So they take the number of babies who will die within a year of their life, and they divide that by the total number of live births per year per 1,000. Again, this infant mortality rate is going to be low in an MDC stage 4 country. Same examples. It's low because we have access to natal care, which is fertility care or pregnancy care during pregnancy. We have access to proper medicine, and we have people who are more educated about women who are more educated about how to take care of themselves while they're pregnant, and medical care once the delivery process happens. And then once they're infants, they have access to sanitation, hygiene, food supply, and such. It is declining in the DCs as they get more access to wealth, more access to education, more access to health care, then this number will decline. But it's still very high in LDCs, stage 2 countries, because they don't have access to health care, they don't have access to proper food, they don't have as much education about how to take care of themselves while they're pregnant. So again, this would be the same examples here. Next is life expectancy. This is the average number of years a person will live since birth. So after birth, the average number of years a person will live. Remember, on average, women live longer than men in nearly every country in the world. So on average, women do live longer than men in nearly every country in the world. However, women there aren't a large number of women in population than men throughout the world because there are actually more male babies born per year than women. That life expectancy is high in the MDC stage 4 countries, MDC stage 4 countries. That's because of that access to wealth, access to education, access to proper medical care, and that most of the people aren't performing dangerous jobs. We have medicines for widespread diseases. It is increasing in DC as they get more access to the wealth, more access to education, more access to high-paying jobs, and they get more medical care. Same examples here, and it is low in LDC stage 2 countries because of that lack of access to health care and wealth and hygiene, and they're performing much more dangerous jobs. You tend to see feast and famine, war and peace throughout these countries. Okay guys, that concludes about the demographics, the key issue 2, the basics of what we need to understand before we go into demographic transition model.